Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Magician's Birthday. It is time to start the album The Magician's Birthday. And this is, of course, on the podcast Uriah Heep, The Magician's Podcast. So we're celebrating The Magician's Birthday on The Magician's Podcast. How cool is that? I'm so excited to start this album. I'm kind of sad that I'm done with Demons and Wizards. It just went by so fast. Some absolutely amazing songs on that album. One that's very close to me in my heart, just like Salisbury, just like The Magician's Birthday and Look at Yourself and Very Heavy, Very Humble and all those. And Sweet Freedom that comes after this and all that. No, it's really a great album and one of the first ones that I latched onto. In fact, I think if I remember right, it was Demons and Wizards, and then I think Magician's Birthday was the second one, and then Salisbury was the third one. I could be wrong on the order of the way that they came to me, but anyway, it's a great album. I love the character of this album, the sound that it has. You know, as I've said, every album back then had a unique texture to it that was part of the character of the album, just as well as the musicians and the instruments. And I really love the sound of this album. It's very cohesive. I think it's one of the best mixes that they got back in the older days. Very clear, very crystal clear, but not to the point of it being like crisp and annoying. It's just a really nice blend. And I couldn't think of anything, even down to the finest EQ point, that I would change myself. I wish I had mixed this album and had done such a good job of it, to be honest. But yeah, we're going to start that album today, and it's a great album. I'm really excited to do that. I also, though, want to read a new review that showed up on Apple Podcasts /iTunes. I want to point out, I know for a while they were a little behind on posting the reviews. People that told me, hey, I just left a review for you. Some of them didn't show up until days later. But so if I haven't read yours, it either hasn't shown up or for some reason I haven't seen it, but I've just sorted. I usually sort by date, so I see the most recent one first, and it looks like I've gotten through everything that is showing up currently. However, very nice review, and we also had a couple of extra ratings pop up, so they've all been 5 stars, which I thank you guys very much. I do hope that you're being honest if you think the podcast only deserves 3 stars. Well, put 5 stars anyway. No, be honest. You know, it's important that we're honest with these things because what people count on these when they're looking at things to view and they say, oh, what's this podcast all about? Wow, it's got a bunch of 5-star ratings, nothing less. They're going to count on that to be good. Of course, personal taste is personal taste. Just because the people that have rated it think it's 5 stars, the next person might not. And you can't do anything about it. But if you really believe in the show, please give it 5 stars. If you believe in it less than 5 stars, then give it the appropriate amount of stars. Hopefully there's still 5 stars though. So my new best friend, KW_77, left a review for the show, and it goes as follows. I am so grateful to Scott for creating a podcast dedicated to Uriah Heep. I have been a fan of theirs since I was a kid in the 80s, listening to my dad's copy of their live 1973 album and Demons and Wizards. Oh, great album. I just covered that album. I could never figure out why they weren't brought up in the conversation more when talking about great classic rock bands. I've always said they were underrated, and listening to their songs via Scott's analysis only proves to be 100% true. There's note, I agree with that. Well, of course I do. Scott breaks down the songs well and has brought something new to me on every song he has covered so far. I love it, and I look forward to his coverage of the entire catalog. Long live the Heep! Well, thank you, KW_77. That really means a lot to me. I am very grateful that you take the time to listen to the show, that you wanted to check it out, and you love the band as much as I do. And pretty much everybody listening, I would imagine, does. You know, there might be some people that are like, well, I like this song and not that song, or I like everything that's not a hit, because a lot of people get tired of hearing the popular tunes. And that's fine. As long as you are giving something a chance. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're listening to the show, I'm hoping that there is some connection that you have to the band and their music. Or maybe you just find me adorable. I would. No, I don't. So let's start off the party with the very first song on the album. Now I'm gonna tell you off the bat that the second version was an unreleased edit of the first version. And the sound is actually a little bit better on it. It's a little bit louder, but it's very chopped up from the original version. And if you're used to hearing it from the album version, it's really kind of awkward. So when we get to the end of reviewing the song, then I'll just play a couple of clips so you can hear the differences. But it's almost like, wow, this song is so chopped up. What happened to the rest of the song? It just goes by too fast. It's a little awkward for me, but anything that's not what I'm used to, what's warm to me, is going to feel a little bit weird unless I listen to it enough to get used to it. And this was obviously done for, potential radio play. And so, that stuff was very common. They still do that stuff today. But this is just a song I know, I think, a little bit too well to be able to be open to that tight of an edit of it myself. But I'll play that at a little bit at the end. And of course, I want to let you guys know, wherever you're listening to the show, thank you. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Obviously, you may be able to just even see it on your app, that new shows come out every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday every week, pretty much no matter what. I haven't had any reason to not release an episode so far, which is good because I've got a schedule, So you can follow us also at scotthaskin.com, which is a link you can click in the show notes there where it says show. And just click on the Uriah Heep podcast link. If you go to the site yourself, if you go to the link in the show notes, it just takes you right there. You can also follow the Facebook group or page that we have there, I should say. And that's at facebook.com/Uriah Heep podcast. On Twitter, all over Twitter, we are at Heep Podcast. On Instagram, we are at Uriah Heep Podcast. And our email is uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out. We also have a Patreon. We also have a PayPal link that is now working again. So feel free to check those out if you feel so inclined. No pressure whatsoever. My thing is that you're enjoying the show. That's the most important of all things. And I thank you guys all for the reviews and the ratings and all that really cool stuff. So let's just dig in right now to Sunrise. If that intro doesn't say this is a Uriah Heep song, I don't know what else would. I mean, you've got everything. You've got the active bass, you've got the solid drums, you've got great guitars and organ, and these amazing, amazing vocals. I don't think you could put a better stamp on a song, and it's a great way to open the album. I don't know about you guys, but I've always felt that if a band is going to do a song or an individual artist is going to do a song called Sunrise or Sunset, it better feel like that. Like, I don't know why you would call something that and not have it portray that unless it's just the story of it and the music is not designed to portray it, just enhance it. But in general, I kind of feel like you really need to have some sort of, blank start to a growth, whether it's quickly or not, or like a nice fade out that kind of gives it the idea of the sun going down. But I think this is a great example of doing that very thing. It just kind of starts out. And it's almost like, the sun is up, the sun's up, but you can't see it. And then it just comes around the mountain and boom, it's just right in your face. And I've had a few mornings like that myself, but I think they did a great job portraying that. So, it just goes right in. The mix is fantastic. The drums sound nice and clean. You can really hear the tone of each drum. There's plenty of room for the bass moving around, guitars, organ, vocals, everything. It's all there. It sounds fantastic.
Sunrise and the new day's breaking through. The morning of another day without you. And as the hours roll by, no one's there to see me cry, except the sunrise. The sunrise and you.
What a nice, strong vocal from David Byron. Of course, you wouldn't expect any less. It's interesting the level of power he's using on this, because he's not laying back fully, singing really gentle, but he's also not driving it hard, but yet his voice is very pronounced, very clear, really nice. And I really like when he sings in that lane. It just seems to be like one of the best places that his voice can be. But then when he turns on the power, it does. When he sings, gently, it does. And he's just a fantastic vocalist. And I love the way that he's singing the verse here. It just works so well with the music. I love how the music just really drops out and gives him that chance to shine too, especially coming from such a powerful opening and in between. Really kind of nice.
Tired eyes drift across the shore, looking for love and nothing more. But as the sea rolls by, there's no one there to see me cry, except the sunrise. The sunrise and you.
What is super cool about that is that you can have, just the bare minimum organ behind the vocals, leaving all the room for David to sing. But the magic comes in when the band kicks in again and he starts singing a little harsher, but you don't lose any of the clarity. You don't lose any of the audio visibility of the vocal. It doesn't get buried in the music. The music shines. You can hear everything that's going on, but you're not losing the words in that mix as well. A lot of times when you hear things mixed and they try something like this, the music kicks in and you're used to hearing the vocals at a certain level, but then they overpower the vocals with the music. This is absolutely perfect. It's pushing the music right to the edge, but it's also not pushing into the vocal whatsoever. It's just absolutely brilliant mixing work. If you guys listened to the episode I did on the song Poet's Justice from Demons and Wizards, I talked to you about what I call the comeback part. And I also referred to the song Gypsy because it has that in it as well, where, a person just suddenly gets this new second wind and they're just ready to take things on and they're coming out of, whatever's going on around them. This section right here is another one of those where I feel like the character has regained a power and they're just determined. They're tired of crap and they're ready to just, plow through it all and get things done. And I love parts like that. I love that they're not overused. They're fairly rare because even if the story says it, a lot of times I don't necessarily feel it. I'll hear it in the words. I won't necessarily feel the vocalist. I won't feel the determination. It's just like them saying, oh yeah, I'm going to get that laundry done. It doesn't have a feel to it. Instead, if you say, you know what, I'm getting this laundry done today, right now. Like that's the kind of conviction I'm talking about. So this is definitely one of those parts. I feel it. I don't know if you guys do. If you do, great. If you don't, you know what? That's all right too.
Sunrise, new day, heed my song.
I especially love that last little bit right there where he's just, I feel like he's just pushing every bit out of his chest that he can to prove his point. Even using like an alternative sound in his vocal to really push that out. It just has a great deal of power for me, and I really like that. The music is so nice and strong behind him, supporting him, and God, it's just such a good song, isn't it? Well, that's what I'm talking about. That is just great songwriting, great performance, nice, rich, thick sound, amazing backup vocals all through the song. Really help drive it, and such a couple of really high tracks in there too that really just add such a level. It's like we put icing on the cake, but you know what? Icing isn't enough. Let's put some sprinkles on that. You know what? Sprinkles aren't enough. Let's put some chocolate syrup on that. Just every other thing that they could think of to do is on there, and it just sounds fantastic. I've always loved the sound of this song. Part of the character of the album, really on the whole, but and this album has some really good adventures on it, as we're going to hear over the next couple of weeks as we get through this one. But yeah, great song. I love it. I just love the feel of it. I love I really think what ties it together for me, songs have different hooks. There's the riff, there's the flow of the dialogue, there's the story, there's the beat, there's the, with Uriah Heep, there's the bass, whatever the bass is doing, because it's, as usual, it's really meandering very well in this song too. In fact, I wonder, I'm not very familiar with most bands live because I really don't listen to a lot of live albums. It's been a while since I've heard Heep 73. But I have to go back and listen to maybe a couple of different versions of a song. And because I'm curious if what Gary Thain is playing here is what he plays live, or if he just says, as long as I play within the scale, I'm doing good. And he just kind of wanders around on every song. I don't know. I'm going to be curious to find that out. So I'm going to have to do some research here when I have some time. I've heard that people have that. But yeah, very good song. Very good song. I love the balance of keyboard to guitars. I probably, if anything, would say maybe a little more guitar in the mix because it's a slightly more keyboard driven, and that's okay if that's what was meant to be. But I would like to hear a little bit more guitar in the mix. But that's being as nitpicky as I possibly can be. If I had to fault anything, it would be that. That's really the only thing I can say. But just for giggles, why don't we listen to the beginning of both versions? So I'll play the beginning of this one for you again, and then I'll come back on and let you know when I'm switching to the other version, the alternate unreleased version. So very clearly, that was, the original version that we just listened to, but very clearly you've got this nice long warm up. It's the sun coming up over the mountains kind of feel for me. Just that, time to stretch and get out of bed and get started on your day kind of thing. And then here is what you would have gotten in the edited version. So yeah, it's a little bit louder, but overall it's pretty chopped up, and I feel like you're losing the foundation of the song. I'm really torn between being an artist and being a business person. I understand why you would make decisions like this, especially back then. You're fighting to get stuff on the radio. You think this one might have some potential, so you chop it up a little bit. I get that, but at the same point, without that introduction, without that build, you're not setting the right tone for the song. So I don't know. I've always been torn with things like that. It's such a tough decision. When I release music, I don't really do edited versions. I don't know how many people really do those anymore. Unless it's a really long song, or, if you're trying to do like a remix or something like that. But apart from that, it's probably just not done that much anymore. And it's because songs are written for the radio now. But in any case, that's what they chose to do for this one. The CD itself calls it an edited, unreleased track. So I don't think, as far as I know, it doesn't look like it got to the radio. If it did, or maybe onto a B-side of a single, I don't know. But either way, the song itself is still good. You're just getting a condensed version of it. But for me, again, without that setup, without, you don't just look and it's dark and then all of a sudden the sun's out on top of the mountain and it's bright. You have a warming up, you have a transition. So it just seems a little abrupt for my taste. And then you're cutting out some of those beautiful harmonized vocals that come in, and that's a shame. So yeah, you're kind of losing some stuff. But if it's your introductory to the band or the song, it's probably fine, because that's what you're going to learn. And then you're going to get the album and you're going to hear the whole version and go, oh, wow, I didn't know there was this intro. So on that side, if you look at it through those eyes, then you've got a nice surprise when you get the album. But if it didn't get released, it never happened. That surprise never happened for anybody. But that's okay. We have the real version, and that's all that matters. Thank you guys for joining me for our first song off of The Magician's Birthday. Great album from Uriah Heep. And we will be back next week with the next song on the album. In the meantime, please have a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Everything's a mess. So let's just be good and help start rebuilding everything together. And that is my little PSA for your weekend. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers, guys. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, The Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!